Hey guys, tonight we begin with the cold mist curling over a thatched roof, the scent of wood smoke lingering in the air, and the distant crow of a rooster that clearly didn't get the memo about personal space. You're about to wake up in a world where breakfast is sadness in a bowl, your floor might have hosted a hedgehog last night, and your neighbors include livestock, lice, and exactly zero personal boundaries. And you, dear traveler, might not make it out alive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink awake in a cramped hut in the heart of medieval Europe. It's not a room so much as an experience in minimalism and mandatory proximity. The straw mattress beneath you smells like 5 winters ago and scratches like it's auditioning to be your exfoliator. Your nose fills with the musty blend of sweat, hay, and the mysterious tang of old goat. There are no sheets, no pillows, and certainly no side of the bed. You're wedged between your younger sister, a sack of onions, and something snoring that might be your uncle. This is not a dream. It's just 1325. A rooster shouts its morning battle cry outside your doorless, windowless hut. Technically, it's not your rooster. Technically, nothing is yours. The feudal system makes sure of that. But, for now, it marks the beginning of your day. Lucky you. The air is freezing. Not cool, not brisk, not even refreshingly chilly. It's the kind of cold that hugs your bones and whispers, "You weren't meant to live this long." You roll over, or attempt to. Your limbs have fused with your straw bedding, and every muscle screams in protest. You're 22 years old, which in this world makes you middle-aged. Your back sounds like a bag of twigs being stepped on. You sit up slowly, careful not to wake the others. They need what little rest they can get. The room is dim, lit only by the pale gray of dawn leaking through the thatched ceiling. Somewhere in the shadows, a chicken clucks from the loft. It lives with you, along with the pig, and the cow, and the fleas. So many fleas. There are no rooms in your house, no partitions, no escape, just one square space where your family eats, sleeps, argues, and shares stories, mostly about how cold it is. Your floor is dirt. Well, technically, it's compacted earth mixed with animal droppings and the occasional drop dinner. It's textured, it's fragrant, it's alive. You stand, finally, your bare feet sinking slightly into the chill of yesterday's mud. There are no socks, no slippers. Just the sensation of medieval silt greeting your toes like an old friend. Outside, the village stirs. Smoke curls from neighboring huts as other peasants stoke embers back to life. There are no chimneys here, just holes in the roof. The smoke lingers, wafting lazily about the rafters before deciding whether it wants to leave or stay and add to the ambiance. You step outside. Your tunic is rough wool and it itches in places you can't reach. It hasn't been washed in weeks. Possibly months. But it's warm, which is the only fashion statement that matters when frostbite is a morning guest. The sky is a soft gray blue smeared with streaks of pink. Birds chirp, a cow bellows, someone is already yelling about a missing bucket. The symphony of the Middle Ages. Your family follows, one by one, bleary-eyed and silent. There's no coffee to revive you, no toothpaste to fake freshness, just cold air and the promise of a long, back-breaking day. You make your way to the small fire pit outside your hut. It takes effort to get it going, effort you barely have. You feed it twigs and a silent prayer. Eventually, it coughs to life. Your breakfast? If you're lucky, a chunk of coarse bread left over from yesterday. If you're very lucky, it's not molded. If you're extremely lucky, you can dunk it in the weak ale brewed from last harvest's barley scraps. It tastes like desperation with a hint of warm socks. But it's calories. You chew slowly, watching your breath mist in the morning air. Across the village, other fires spark up. Children chase chickens, women haul water from the communal well, and the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer signals that it's time to start working. There are no weekends, no sick days, no just 5 more minutes. This is your life, and it has only just begun. The village is waking. And by waking, we mean groaning, limping, and trying not to make eye contact with the fact that your entire life is basically a workout with no end and no gym membership perks. You toss the last crumb of your breakfast, half a crust, half a fossil, into your mouth and wipe your hands on your tunic. It doesn't help. Your hands are already stained with soot, and the fabric you're wiping them on hasn't seen water since the last thunderstorm decided to pay a visit directly through the roof. The sun is barely up, but you're already behind. Welcome to the peasant workday, sunrise to exhaustion. Your first job? Herding the livestock. The family's scrawny cow lumbers forward, followed by the pig, who is only cooperative when bribed with old turnip skins. And then there's the sheep. Or rather, there was. You find it half an hour later, head stuck in a fence and bleeding like it owes someone money. Once your furry coworkers are headed to their respective grazing zones, the pig to the woods to dig for roots, the cow to a frostbitten field, the sheep to nowhere in particular, you get to the real work, the fields. You grab the wooden yoke for the oxen and instantly regret everything. The plow is a hulking wooden beast, heavy, awkward, and about as maneuverable as a wounded elephant. The oxen, who have roughly the IQ of a rock with attitude, do their best to walk straight, but end up dragging the plow sideways more often than not. You are behind it, gripping the handles, praying you don't hit a rock and launch yourself face first into medieval turf. The soil is hard from the cold. The blade barely scrapes it, and every step feels like a full-body tug of war with the earth. Sweat drips into your eyes, your hands blister, your back burns. You're not even halfway through your row, and already you're contemplating whether feudalism counts as a medical emergency. You pause at the end of the row, not because you're finished, but because your ox just decided it needs a nap in the middle of the furrow. You take the opportunity to wipe your face and mutter a few choice words about your life decisions. Then it's back again. Row after row. Hours pass. The sun climbs. Your limbs scream. Eventually, the field is tilled. You're muddy, sore, and have gained a deep personal vendetta against roots. But there's no time to rest. Now comes the sowing. You sling the seed sack over your shoulder and begin pacing the field, scattering grain with a practiced flick of the wrist. It looks easy. It is not. Too much seed and the plants choke each other. Too little and weeds throw a party. Meanwhile, flocks of birds circle overhead like feathery thieves, waiting for you to turn your back so they can dive bomb your hard work. You wave your arms, you yell, you even throw a rock once. They ignore you. They're unionized. You finish sowing and stand there for a second, breathing heavily. Your entire body aches. Your tunic sticks to your skin, your boots are full of mud and the faint suspicion of manure. You look back at the field. It's a patchwork of slightly crooked lines and lumpy furrows. Not perfect, but it'll do. Then comes the part no one talks about, the worry. Because even if you do everything right, the rain might not come, or it might come too much, or the crops might rot, or thieves might sneak in during the night and take what little you have. Farming in the Middle Ages is less of a skill and more of a gamble, except the dice are rigged and the house always wins. And the house is nature, and nature is a jerk. You trudge back toward the village, legs trembling, arms limp. The sky's turned orange, the sun sinking fast. Your body wants rest, but your chores aren't done, not even close. There's firewood to chop, water to fetch, fences to mend, tools to patch. You haven't even thought about dinner, which, spoiler, will be more pottage. With any luck, slightly less gloopy than yesterday. You pass your neighbor, Old Mags, who's yelling at a goose and winning the argument. You nod in mutual exhaustion. As night falls, the temperature drops again. You huddle with your family near the hearth, flames flickering weakly. Your tunic steams, your fingers are numb, your body hums with fatigue. And yet, this is normal. This is every day. And tomorrow, same. You close your eyes, the sounds of cracking firewood and quiet chewing filling the room. Someone snores, the chicken clucks, the pig farts, it's home. You've made it through another day. Barely. The rooster is late. You're already half awake when it finally lets out its wretched war cry. Maybe it's protesting your tendency to mutter threats at it every morning. Maybe it just knows you dread what's next. You've survived the dirt floor, the livestock symphony, and yesterday's plowing. Congrats. Today you get to do something different, scarecrowing. You rub the stiffness out of your arms as best you can. Your shoulders ache from yesterday's labor, and your spine audibly disagrees with the act of standing. Still, you rise, because lying down means freezing, and freezing means death. Simple math, medieval edition. Outside, the field you sowed yesterday looks peaceful. That is, until you see the bird gang. Dozens of them, all beady-eyed and judgmental. They perch on your fence like feathery villains, plotting a grain heist. One particularly bold raven hops right into your field and starts pecking at the soil like it owns the place. Your job? Make them go away. With your arms and your voice. And occasionally a stick you wave around like an angry wizard whose only spell is yelling. You shout, they flap a little, you wave, they fly away, you turn your back, they come right back. It's a dance. A very loud, very frustrating, very flappy dance. Mid-morning brings a change in task. Weeding. Your favorite? You crouch down, knees creaking, and begin ripping invaders out of the soil. Thistles, nettles, creepers, all with root systems designed by nature to mock your efforts. Some peasants say weeds are like sin, always coming back, always worse if ignored. You say weeds are like that one uncle who never moves out and eats all the stew. Your hands are already calloused, but the weeds don't care. They fight back with thorns and sap that stings, you mutter to yourself. The sun climbs higher, sweat beads on your brow, your tunic sticks to your back. Then come the bugs. Beetles, caterpillars, things with too many legs and no respect for personal space. You squash, flick, and occasionally scream. One lands on your neck. You perform what future generations will call a medieval mosh pit solo. Eventually you finish the patch. You stand up, dizzy and lightheaded, dirt coating your fingernails, and hope. Lunchtime, if you can call it that. You trudge back to your hut and find the fire barely holding on. Your mother hands you a bowl of pottage that looks suspiciously familiar. Same texture, same color. Same question, is that yesterday's turnip or just a new one shaped like despair? You eat slowly, the warmth helps, slightly. Afternoon means maintenance. Your lord's fences have a hole, which means his sheep might escape. And if his sheep escape, you get blamed. And if you get blamed, you don't eat next week. So you find some spare wood and rope, and you start fixing it. The tools are crude, the boards splinter, the rope frays, but you get it done. Next, you check the cottage roof. One corner sagged during the last storm and now leaks directly over your sleeping area. It's charming if you're a fish, less so if you're human. You climb up carefully, thatch is slippery, and medieval ladders are one poorly tied stick away from betrayal. You patch the worst holes with straw and silent hope. It might hold, it might not. By sunset, you're exhausted, but there's still more. The village pig wandered into the garden again, so now you're chasing it around like a desperate cabbage protector. It squeals. You yell. A child points and laughs. The pig wins round one. You finally herd it back to its pen. You tie the gate tighter. You sigh. As darkness falls, you gather by the fire again. The family is quiet, each lost in their own version of tired. Your little sister braids a doll's hair made from scrap wool. Your father rubs his knees and stares into the flames. Your mother stirs a pot, again, whispering to herself. No one talks about dreams. Dreaming is a luxury. Survival is the goal. You lie down on the straw pile that passes for a bed. The fleas greet you like old friends. The draft tickles your neck. You pull the wool blanket tighter. Outside, the wind howls. Inside, you drift into sleep, not because you're ready, but because exhaustion drags you under. Another day waits, and it will not be kinder. You wake to shouting, not the usual rooster, not the casual morning chaos of misplaced shoes or runaway pigs. No, this is urgent shouting, neighbor shouting, the kind that means something's either on fire, missing, or pooping where it shouldn't. You stumble out of bed, if you can call a mound of straw that smells like damp dog bed, and follow the noise. Turns out someone's cow has broken through a fence and is now joyfully destroying a patch of cabbages like it holds a personal grudge. You help drive it back, mostly by waving your arms and praying loudly. The cow, offended but compliant, returns to its pen. Crisis averted. Cabbages, emotionally damaged but salvageable. Then it's time. Time for the harvest. If you've been imagining golden fields and smiling peasants in tasteful linen tunics, think again. The harvest is less postcard and more panic, because once the crops are ripe, the race begins. Why? Because rain is coming. Always, somewhere, eventually, and one bad storm can destroy an entire season's worth of backbreaking labor. So now the village mobilizes like ants on espresso, men, women, children, all out in the fields, everyone. Even old Mags is out there, swinging her sickle with a fury that makes the younger lads nervous. You grab your own sickle, a curved blade that's seen better days, and get to work. The technique is simple. Slice the stalks, bundle them into sheaves, stack them in neat little rows. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Your hands cramp, your knees ache, the sun beats down like it has a vendetta, and the wheat, it cuts back. Tiny slivers dig into your sleeves, your skin, your soul. You're now 30% bread and 70% regret. You pause to drink. It's warm ale again. Always warm, always slightly sour, but it's liquid and it won't kill you. That's considered gourmet around here. A child stumbles past you, dragging an armful of grain twice their size. You nod at them, impressed. They nod back, the 1,000-yard stare of someone who's already planning their post-harvest nap. By midday, your back is screaming. The piles grow. The field shrinks, but not fast enough. You're halfway through a sheaf when the sky darkens. Everyone stops. Heads turn upward. Clouds, thick, moody, wet-looking. The pace doubles. Sickles flash. Bundles fly. Someone trips. Someone else swears. You tie another sheaf and toss it onto the growing stack like you're in some kind of punishment-based Olympics. Then, rain. Not a gentle drizzle. A full-on sky tantrum. You scramble to cover the piles with cloth. Rushes anything dry. Spoiler, nothing is dry. Your tunic clings to you like a needy ghost. The field becomes a swamp. Boots sink. Someone slips and takes out 2 bundles like a medieval bowling ball. But the worst passes. The rain stops, the sun peeks out like it's pretending nothing happened. You survey the damage. Some sheaves are soaked, some are salvageable, some will mold. It's not ideal, but it's not total disaster. So, that night, the village gathers. Not for celebration, just to breathe. Everyone's sore, everyone's dirty, but there's a sense of quiet victory, a temporary pause in the endless cycle. You eat a thicker stew tonight, thicker because someone threw in the last of the beans. A luxury. You chew slowly, let it warm you from the inside. Children doze near the fire. A song starts, a low, familiar tune about harvest past. No one sings all the words. They don't need to. You lie down, damp but fed, tired but proud. Tomorrow the work continues. But tonight, for once, you rest like you've earned it. You wake up coughing. The fire burned low overnight, leaving the hut filled with smoke that hasn't quite figured out how to leave. It floats lazily in the beams above you, settling into your lungs like an unwanted guest. There's no chimney, remember, just a hole in the roof and a prayer that wind might cooperate. You sit up, swatting a flea off your neck and a chicken feather out of your mouth. The harvest may be over, but your work? Not even close. Today, threshing. The sheaves of wheat you nearly drowned in yesterday are now piled in the barn like golden towers of scratchy responsibility. They look majestic, they smell like hay, sweat, and mild anxiety. You head outside, grabbing a flail on the way. It's not a weapon, though it could be in the right argument. It's a tool, 2 wooden sticks connected by a short chain. Simple, brutal, effective. You and a few others begin the rhythm. Lift, swing, thud. Lift, swing, thud. You're not just smashing grain, you're separating the valuable kernels from the useless husk, the chaff. Every strike is deliberate, every movement repeated until your shoulders burn and your palms blister. Thud, thud, thud. It's oddly musical, like a low drum beat echoing across the village, a harvest song without melody. The dust rises fast. You tie a cloth over your mouth, but it does little. You're sneezing grain by mid-morning. Your hair is full of straw. Your eyebrows have gone beige. After hours, the grain is loose, but not clean. Time to winnow. You scoop up a shallow basket of threshed wheat, lift it into the breeze, and toss. The wind takes the lighter chaff. The heavier grain falls back. Ideally, sometimes the wind doesn't cooperate. Sometimes it flings everything, including your dignity, directly into your neighbor's face. By afternoon, the clean grain is gathered into sacks. But you don't get to keep it all. Now comes everyone's least favorite stop, the mill. The village miller is a necessary evil. He grinds your grain into flour, but takes a cut so generous it might qualify as theft if there were any medieval HR department. But he's the only game in town, and flour is life. So you carry your sack to his dusty domain, endure the eye-roll-worthy small talk, and watch him weigh your share like he's solving a riddle only he understands. You leave with less than you brought. That's normal. The flour goes back home where your mother and sister are already elbow-deep in dough. It's bread night, not the good kind, just bread. You help gather straw for the oven fire. The clay oven is cracked, temperamental, and might explode if you look at it wrong, but it bakes, and that's what matters. Later, the loaves come out dense, brown, and as comforting as anything in this world gets. You break one open, you swear you see angels, you take a bite. It's chewy, it's dry, it's got a suspicious crunch that might be accidental gravel, but it's hot and filling and earned. The leftover straw gets stuffed into mattresses, if they can still be called that. Mostly they're just floor cushions for people with optimism. Still, it's better than the bare earth, slightly. By nightfall, the village smells like smoke and fresh bread, a rare win. Children play briefly, laughter bubbles up, unplanned. You even smile. Then someone mentions winter. A hush falls. Not yet. Not tonight. You settle by the fire again, full belly and sore arms. The flail rests nearby, a silent reminder that tomorrow it begins again, but for now, you've beaten the wheat. And in some small way, that feels like winning. It's colder now. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones before you're even out of bed. Not the sharp bite of early frost, but a creeping damp chill that wraps itself around your spine and settles in for the season. Welcome to the prelude of winter, also known as, did I just wake up, or did my joints turn to stone? You shift under your blanket, which is technically wool, but might as well be a burlap sack marinated in smoke. It smells like goat. It always smells like goat. You brace yourself, then throw off the covers, your breath hangs in the air, your feet hit the dirt floor and are immediately betrayed by the sensation of ice-soaked straw. You hiss. The floor hisses back. It's going to be a great day. You shuffle to the fire pit. It's dead, of course, just a blackened pile of charcoal and unfulfilled potential. You poke it. Nothing. You mutter something mildly medieval and get to work rekindling it. Flint. Steel. Bark. Prayers. Eventually a flame sparks. It crackles to life like a sleepy dragon. You lean in, fingers outstretched, face as close as safety allows. Warmth. Blessed, fleeting warmth. The fire draws the family like moths to a life source. Your sister wraps herself in a cloak that's more whole than fabric. Your mother stirs porridge in a pot so old it should probably be knighted. Your father coughs, the deep, rattling kind that no one talks about. Today's tasks are simple. Repair, prepare, and pray it doesn't snow yet. The thatch roof has begun leaking again. You climb up with a bundle of reeds and a bucket of silent frustration. Cold wind whistles through your teeth as you work, patching holes with numb fingers and strategically placed hope. Then it's off to gather firewood. The nearby forest is not generous. What's left are damp branches, twisted roots, and the occasional suspicious fungus. You haul back what you can, your arms protest. Your back launches a formal complaint. You stack the wood beside the hearth. Not enough. Never enough. Next, insulation. That's a strong word for what you actually do. You stuff rags, straw, and moss into the gaps between the wooden beams of your hut. You'd use wool, but you're wearing all the wool you own. Still, it helps. A little until it rains again. Then you'll have walls full of wet moss and dreams. Food prep is next. Root vegetables are dug up from the garden. They're twisted, half-rotten, and stubborn. One carrot looks like it's personally offended to be harvested. You peel it anyway. What's left of the harvest is carefully stored. Grains go in sacks, beans in jars. Anything remotely perishable is dried, salted, or turned into a pickled science experiment. You have a turnip in vinegar that's older than your cousin. The pig gets fed last. You dump a pail of kitchen scraps into its pen. It grunts, looks at you, and continues living its best mud-covered life. You envy it sometimes. Evening falls fast. The sun, now a distant memory, disappears before you've even finished stacking the kindling. Inside, the hearth is going. Barely. The smoke hangs thick in the room. Your eyes water. Your lungs sting. But it's warm. Dinner is soup. Again, thin broth with mystery bits floating like edible riddles. You slurp it down. It's salty, hot, and surprisingly comforting. Like being hugged by someone with bad hygiene but good intentions. Afterward, you sit by the fire, boots off, feet out, steaming like a peasant-shaped kettle. You've earned this. But sleep doesn't come easy in winter. The wind howls through the cracks. The straw mattress is damp again. You huddle with your siblings, sharing body heat and bedtime complaints. No one wants to be on the edge. It's colder there. Everyone wants to be the middle spoon in this human sandwich of survival. You close your eyes. You listen. Crackling fire, creaking beams, a pig snoring softly from the corner. You pull the blanket up to your chin. One more night, one more step closer to spring. Morning arrives without warning, just a gradual brightening of the smoky air inside your hut and the sound of someone tripping over the firewood pile. You blink your crusted eyes open to find your breath still visible and your fingers curled into fists of frost. Winter's grip has tightened. Today, your job isn't outside. Not yet. It's inside, and it's relentless. You're tasked with making ale, not the good kind, not the rich, frothy, celebration ale of harvest festivals and royal banquets. No, this is peasant ale, watery, weak, and brewed more for basic survival than pleasure, because the water from the well? Filthy, cloudy, teeming with things that would make your stomach turn and your bowels stage a rebellion. So you boil it, then you ferment it, you pray to the yeast gods and hope it doesn't kill you, or worse, taste like socks. You grind barley, or what's left of it. Your hands are raw from the millstone. The grit gets everywhere, your hair, your mouth, your soul. Then you mash it into a thick pulp, dump it in a barrel, stir it with a stick that looks suspiciously like the one used for laundry, and wait. Meanwhile, the cottage must be cleaned. And by cleaned, we mean the rushes on the floor are now a multi-layered fossil of old straw, dead bugs, bits of bread, and at least 3 unidentifiable substances. You scrape it up with a flat piece of wood and gag only once. A new record. You throw down fresh rushes. Technically fresh means slightly less horrifying than what they replaced. They still smell like swamp and still crunch underfoot like you're walking on ancient cereal. After that, the wool. Washing wool in winter is cruel. The water is so cold it burns. You dunk the bundles in a wooden tub, scrub them with ashes, then wring them out with hands that go numb by the 3rd squeeze. You drape the damp cloth over the fire to dry, hoping it doesn't smoke too much or catch fire. Both have happened. Then it's time to spin. You sit by the hearth, spinning wool into yarn using a drop spindle. It's slow, monotonous, but weirdly meditative. The spindle whirls, the fibers twist, you start to doze off, but the pig screams. You rush outside. It's not being attacked, just offended. Somehow it managed to flip over its trough. Again, you reset it, scold it, and realize you're talking to a pig like it's your ex. The pig ignores you, also like your ex. Back inside, lunch is bread and cheese. The cheese is green, but that might be intentional. The bread is yesterday's, and the day before's, possibly the week's. It could probably be used as a weapon. You chew, you regret, you swallow. Then it's sewing time. A tunic tore at the shoulder, and you're the lucky one with the steadiest hands today. The needle is dull, the thread is fraying, and your patient keeps twitching every time the wool touches their skin. Eventually, you get it closed, badly but firmly. You exhale, the room smells of smoke and boiled socks. Evening sets in. The ale has started to bubble. That's a good sign, or a terrible one. You ladle a bit out and take a sip. It's drinkable. Barely. It won't win awards, but it might not kill your family. You serve it with dinner, pottage again. This version includes a few root vegetables and something that might once have been a bean. It's hot. That's enough. The fire is low. You stoke it gently, trying not to wake the baby on your lap. You're exhausted, but there's still knitting to do. Wool socks don't make themselves. And without them, someone's toes are going to turn into medieval popsicles. Outside, snow starts to fall. Silent, persistent, beautiful in that way dangerous things often are. You wrap a blanket tighter around your shoulders and keep working, each stitch a small act of defiance against the cold. This is how you survive, thread by thread, sip by sip, day by freezing day. You wake in complete darkness, not the soft, cozy kind of darkness where the world feels still and forgiving. No, this is the kind of pitch black that makes you forget if your eyes are even open. The fire has gone out. The embers are cold. And the cold itself, it has teeth. You sit up, wrapped in your scratchy blanket, and immediately shiver. Your breath curls in the air like smoke. Your nose is frozen. Your toes are either numb or gone. You're not sure yet. Winter nights in a peasant's hut are not just cold, they're personal. Everyone sleeps close, not for comfort, but for survival. Human heat is the most reliable insulation you've got. Your sister is curled up beside you, your brother on your other side, and the family pig, yes, still here, is nestled somewhere near your feet, snoring blissfully. You envy the pig. You reach out to relight the fire. Your fingers are stiff. The flint refuses to spark. You whisper to it, threaten it, beg it, finally, flame. Tiny, weak, flickering. But it's enough. The warmth spreads slowly. You coax it, feed it bits of kindling, then small logs. Your family starts to stir. Groans, coughs, that one sneeze your uncle does every morning that sounds like the world ending. Today's task, fixing the floor. Because here's the fun part. Your floor isn't actually a floor, it's dirt. And after weeks of snow and melted ice, it's less earth and more seasonal swamp. Your job is to lay down fresh straw, maybe some rushes, and hope it holds off the damp for another week. You scrape up the old layers, uncovering treasures like moldy turnip peels and a surprisingly intact chicken feather. Then you lay down the new layer, fluffier, but not exactly luxurious. It's less carpet and more natural mulch with dreams. Then comes the roof check. Again, the last storm dislodged some thatch, and now there's a gentle drip, drip, drip directly over your sleeping spot. You climb the roof carefully, holding onto the beams like they're judging you. The wind picks up. Your fingers lose feeling. You secure the reeds as best you can and climb down, covered in bits of hay and regret. You warm your hands by the hearth. Your mother hands you a task. Churn the butter. It sounds quaint. It isn't. You sit on a stool, holding a wooden churn, and start pumping. Up, down, up, down. The sound is rhythmic, the effort is real, your arms burn, your shoulders ache. At one point, you're fairly certain time stops. But finally, after what feels like a medieval gym session, it thickens. Butter. Actual butter. You did it. It's a good day. You spread a dab on a piece of bread. It's the richest thing you've tasted in weeks. For a moment, you understand why nobles write poetry about food. Then it's back to work. The cows need checking. The shed is freezing. You chip ice from the water trough, feed them some hay, and give the friendlier one a pat. It licks your sleeve. You pretend it's affection and not taste testing. Afternoon chores arrive like bad news. You and your brother haul water from the well. The bucket's rope is frayed. The crank sticks. Every step back feels like you're carrying regret in liquid form. You spill a little. You almost slip. You both curse under your breath, quietly, so your mother doesn't hear. Back home, the pot is on. Pottage again. But tonight, it's special. Someone traded for salt. Real salt. Tiny white crystals of flavor and magic. Just transforms the entire pot from edible punishment to not bad, actually. You eat slowly. Savor every bite. After dinner, your father tells a story, an old one, about a knight, a dragon, and a loaf of bread that could never go stale. Everyone laughs. Even the baby giggles. For a moment, it's warm, not just from the fire but from the flicker of something that might be joy. You huddle in for the night, the wind howls, the pig grunts, the roof drips just a little, but your belly is full, your feet are dry, and your blanket doesn't smell too bad tonight. Sometimes in winter, that's enough. You don't need the rooster today. The village bell does the honors, a slow, steady clang echoing through the frozen air. You sit up with a groan and instantly regret moving. Every muscle is stiff. Your spine sounds like a medieval percussion instrument. But the bell means one thing. It's workday for the Lord's land. Not your land, not your crops, and definitely not your choice. You eat quickly, bread dipped in ale, because nothing says breakfast like fermented barley sadness, and grab your tools, your sickle, your hoe, your hat that was once part of a nicer blanket. The road to the manor fields is a muddy, frozen mess. You walk with your neighbors, a line of bent-backed figures crunching across the frostbitten earth. No one talks much. There's nothing new to say. The manor looms ahead, larger, cleaner, smugger. It's not a castle, but it tries. The stone walls say, "I don't get wet when it rains." The small garden says, "I've never met a weed." The Lord's sheep look fatter than yours. They probably get bedtime songs and oat facials. You arrive, tools in hand, heart in your throat. The steward is waiting, all attitude and wool. He assigns you a section of field to weed. You don't ask questions, you just start pulling and pulling and pulling. Weeds don't care about class structure, they mock everyone equally. By midday, your hands are red and cracked. Your knees feel like medieval hinges. You stretch your back, glance toward the manor, and catch a glimpse of the Lord's family enjoying what looks suspiciously like a meat pie. You stare. Not with envy. Envy implies hope. No, you stare like a cat watching a bird it knows it'll never catch. Lunch is handed out by a surly servant. Barley porridge. Again. You eat it with the enthusiasm of someone chewing a sock, but it keeps your legs moving. The afternoon brings firewood gathering. You're sent to the forest's edge with a few others. The trees are tall, twisted, and unimpressed by your presence. You collect fallen branches, crack the occasional dry log, and load up the sled. It's heavy, the rope digs into your palms, your breath clouds with every step. On the way back, someone slips, the sled tips, half the wood scatters. You help reload it, no one complains. Complaining wastes warmth. By dusk, you're done, technically. You drag your frozen limbs home where your mother greets you with a nod and a bowl. Tonight's stew includes something called meat, though it's more of a texture than a flavor. Still, you eat it. Around the fire, your father grumbles about taxes. Not because they're due, because they're always due. The church wants tithes, the Lord wants grain, the miller wants his cut. And you want a day off. Instead, you patch your boots, the leather is cracked, the soles are thinning. You stuff straw inside for insulation and sew the seams shut with whatever thread you can find. It's not elegant, but it'll get you through another day. Before bed, your sister asks for a story. You don't have the energy, so you hum instead, a lullaby your grandmother used to sing. Something about spring and geese and days without mud. She falls asleep fast. You curl up in your usual corner next to the pig, under the blanket with the least holes. The fire is down to embers. The wind howls, you shut your eyes. Another day on borrowed land, another night on borrowed warmth, but you're still here. Today the sky is a dull sheet of pewter. It's not raining yet, but the air has that heavy, wet taste that says, hope you like mud. You roll out of bed already feeling the ache in your legs. The kind of soreness that doesn't ask permission. It just moves in and redecorates your joints. Breakfast is an idea. A crust of bread, some watery ale, and a wish. You chew and pretend it's filling. Spoiler, it's not. Your task today is weaving, and no, not the artistic kind with patterns and dreams. This is pure survival weaving. The family needs new cloth. Your sister tore her only warm shift trying to scale a fence after the chicken she swore looked at her funny. So now you're spinning thread and setting up the loom. The loom is wooden, creaky, and older than your great uncle. It makes noises like a dying goat every time you shift the tension. You thread it carefully, pulling yarn taut, slipping each strand over, under, over, under, over and over. Hours of rhythmic, finger-blistering tedium. Weaving is oddly hypnotic. You lose yourself in the pattern, only to snap back when your brother trips over the goat and spills ashes across your warp threads. You don't yell, you just blink, slowly. The goat looks smug. Eventually the fabric starts to form. It's rough, uneven, definitely not symmetrical, but it holds together, and in this world, that's all anyone really wants. By mid-morning, it's time for the next adventure, washing clothes. You load up a basket with tunics, hose, and a collection of fabric items that might once have been white. You lug it to the stream, the one just outside the village. The path is muddy, the wind is aggressive. When you arrive, the water is cold enough to count as emotional trauma. You kneel on a flat rock and start scrubbing. There's no soap, not really, just ashes, sand, and stubbornness. You beat the fabric against the rock like it owes you money. Bits of thread float away. So do your feelings. By the time your fingers are too numb to bend, you rinse the clothes and hang them on a bush. They won't dry. Nothing dries. But it's symbolic. The walk back is silent. You focus on keeping the clean clothes out of the mud and the goat away from your ankles. Back home, the fire is going again. Someone managed to barter for onions. They're diced into the pottage, which now smells edible. Lunch is hot, which makes it amazing. You sit, huddled near the flames, chewing in silence. The hut smells like smoke, sweat, and slowly roasting onion. You close your eyes for just a second, and someone shouts. The pig is in the garden, again. You bolt out the door, waving your arms and muttering threats. The pig looks at you, snorts, and trots off like a smug sausage with legs. You repair the fence with a sigh. It's not even a fence, just a collection of sticks pretending to have boundaries. You jam them deeper into the ground and tie the top with twine. While you're out there, you gather firewood. Again, because firewood disappears faster than patience in a room full of toddlers. Evening arrives quickly. Dinner is more of the same. You ladle pottage into wooden bowls and pass it around. The family eats quietly, the only sounds the clink of spoons and the occasional satisfied grunt. Then comes the mending. You sew patches into socks, fix a hem, reattach a button that was actually just a pebble tied with string. Your fingers are clumsy in the low light, but you keep at it. Because worn clothes don't get replaced. They get fixed and fixed and fixed again. Afterward, you sit by the hearth. Someone plays a tune on a reed pipe. It's off-key, repetitive, and slightly nasal, but it makes people smile. You wrap yourself in your blanket. The wind howls outside. Your hands smell like wet wool and onions, but the hut is warm, the pig is asleep, the goat is quiet, and for a moment, nothing's broken. The morning frost glitters on the straw roof like a taunt from nature. You peer out the door and immediately regret it. The wind slaps you in the face with a firm reminder: winter isn't coming. It's already moved in, stolen your blanket, and is now helping itself to your bread stash. Today, it's market day, which is a fancy way of saying you'll walk 6 miles through mud and ice just to stand in a crowded square and barter with people who definitely woke up angrier than you did. You load the cart. It's not much. A few eggs, some coarse wool, a turnip that's pretending to be fresh, and a pair of mittens your sister knitted under duress. You hitch the cart to the family's only donkey, who looks at you like he knows this journey will end in tears and blisters. The road to market is ambitious. Ruts so deep they have their own postal codes. Puddles that could hide entire civilizations. One section is so slick you consider just sliding the whole way on your backside and calling it a pilgrimage. You pass other villagers, faces red from wind, eyes half closed from fatigue. Everyone has something to trade. A jar of honey, a bundle of rushes. That one guy who always brings pickled eels and no one ever asks why. The market itself is a muddy miracle. Stalls made from leftover planks and unfulfilled dreams. Merchants shouting over each other like it's a competitive sport. The smell, a potent blend of dried fish, stale bread, sweat, and ambition. You park your cart and begin the ritual, bartering. A woman wants your eggs. She offers a spool of thread and a smile that could curdle milk. You haggle. She adds a carrot. You accept. Next, a farmer eyes your wool. He offers soap. Real soap. You nearly faint. It smells like lavender, or at least something less traumatic than usual. Deal. You trade the turnip for a handful of dried beans and what might be a button carved from bone. You're not sure who got the better end. Probably the turnip. Then comes your goal, buying salt. The salt merchant is always grumpy. Always. He's like if a tree stump gained sentience and hated everyone. You present your best wool mitten and the dried beans. He squints, he grunts, he nods. Victory. You tuck the salt away like it's treasure, because in many ways it is. On the way home, the donkey decides he's done, mid-path, just sits. You coax, you plead, you offer the carrot from earlier. He accepts the carrot, he does not move. Eventually he relents. The cart lurches back into motion. You make it home just before dusk. Your family greets you like a hero. They ogle the salt, fondle the soap, and marvel at the button. Dinner is better tonight, just slightly. A pinch of salt transforms pottage from mystery sadness to, hey, not bad. Afterward, you clean your hands with real soap. It feels luxurious. Your skin doesn't rebel. Your nose is surprised. You briefly wonder if this is what wealth feels like. You sit by the fire, legs sore, arms heavy, and soul just a little lighter. The market was chaos, yes, but it brought something rare: choice. And in a world where most of your life is decided for you, even one decision, salt instead of turnip, feels like rebellion. You lean back, the fire crackles. The donkey snorts outside, presumably proud of himself. And you for once are almost content. You're jolted awake by the rooster as usual, but this time it's not just annoying, it's personal. It's perched outside your hut, practically screaming through the thatch like it knows your sleep schedule and is deliberately trying to ruin it. You throw a shoe. You miss. The rooster wins. Again, you sigh, sit up, and stretch. Everything pops. Your knees, your back, your neck, all performing a symphony of snaps that says you're not 20 anymore. You're 23, which is roughly 67 in peasant years. Today is a regular day, which means it will be exhausting, repetitive, and slightly damp. You dress in layers because the air is cold enough to slap. Your tunic is patched at the elbows, your hose has been mended so many times it's more thread than fabric. You pull on your boots, stiff, cracked, and still suspiciously damp despite being near the fire all night. You head outside, your breath ghosts in front of you. The ground crunches. The village is already alive with motion. Kids herding chickens, women hauling water, someone yelling about a missing ladle like it's a national crisis. You grab your tools and head to the field. Not for plowing, thank the saints, but for maintenance. The fences need reinforcing. Turns out one of the cows has decided it's an amateur escape artist. Every few days, it squeezes through the same gap and goes on a tour of neighboring gardens, eating with reckless abandon. You gather sticks, some rope, and the strongest swear words you know. Then you get to work. It's muddy. Your boots sink. The fence post resists every push. The rope knots with the defiance of a toddler in a tantrum. But you wrestle it into submission. The cow watches from a distance, unimpressed. Next up, clearing drainage ditches. Glamorous, right? You wade through soggy patches of field with a shovel, digging out the channels that keep rainwater from flooding your crops. It's wet, it's cold, and the smell is unique. A heady mix of old water, rotting roots, and buried regrets. By midday, your hands are blistered and your legs feel like wet logs. But the ditches are clear, the fence is standing, the cow hasn't escaped, yet. Lunch is bread with a smear of something that might once have been cheese. You don't ask, you just chew. Then, because the gods love irony, your mother reminds you, today's also Candle Day. You forgot. Again. Making candles is part science, part art, and all mess. You gather the tallow, a foul-smelling lump of fat that's been rendered down from the last pig. You melt it in a pot over the fire, stirring slowly while holding your breath. Then come the wicks, strips of reed, dipped again and again until they're coated in layers of greasy wax. It's slow, it's smelly, it's strangely satisfying. By the end, you have a dozen candles. None are straight. One looks like it's been cursed, but they'll burn. Probably. Maybe. As the sun sets, the village grows quiet. Smoke curls from chimneys, the sky turns orange, then purple, then black. Dinner is the usual stew. You add a pinch of salt, your prized market find, and it transforms the whole pot. Everyone nods, no one speaks. Silence is how you say thank you around here. Afterwards, you light one of your new candles. It flickers uncertainly, then steadies. The room glows with soft, greasy light. You sit by the fire, sewing a hole in your sleeve. The flickering flame casts shadows on the walls, making everything look older and softer. Your brother plays with a wooden toy. Your mother hums. Outside, the cow is quiet. The rooster has finally shut up. You lie down on your straw bed, tuck your feet into the least scratchy corner, and exhale. Not a special day, but a good one. And sometimes in a life like this, that's enough. You awaken not to the rooster this time, but to the soft, rhythmic thud of something hitting the side of your hut. Rain. You groan. Not because you dislike rain, it washes away some of the pig stench and makes the garden slightly less suicidal, but because it means everything just got 10 times harder. You sit up and instantly feel the damp in your bones. Your blanket is moist. Not soaked, but that kind of sneaky dampness that creeps in quietly overnight and makes everything smell like defeat. You pull on your boots, cold, wet, and still full of yesterday. The fire's out. Again. You coax it back to life with kindling that crackles like it's crying. The smoke refuses to go up. It just swirls in the room, giving the whole family a nice cough to start the day. Your mother stirs a pot of porridge. It's thinner than usual. Someone must have snuck a second scoop last night. You give your brother the side eye, he shrugs. Guilty. Breakfast is warmish and chewable. Barely. You swallow, not because it tastes good, but because it exists. Then it's out into the rain. Today's task? Manure spreading. Oh yes. The glamorous world of medieval agriculture strikes again. You grab the shovel, the cart, the barrel of regret. The smell hits first, biblical, like a compost pile marinated in pigsty. It clings to your nose, your clothes, your will to live. You haul the cart out to the field, slipping and sliding the whole way. Mud mixes with the contents of the barrel, creating a new scent category scientists will never be able to classify. And then you start spreading. Scoop, fling, step, repeat. It's more art than science. Too much and the soil burns. Too little and your crops come up looking like they've seen things. The rain doesn't help. Everything is slick. Your boots sink into the earth. You fall once. Okay, twice, but only one counts because someone saw. The old man across the field nods in solidarity. Misery recognizes misery. By noon, you're soaked through, covered in mystery, and questioning every life decision that led to this moment. You pause, catch your breath, and notice something. Despite the mud, despite the smell, despite the sheer medieval horror of it all, the earth looks better. Dark, rich, ready. You finish the last row, muscles aching and trudge back toward the hut. On the way, you spot your sister trying to fix the thatch over the pig bin with one hand while holding a squirming chicken in the other. You help. The pig grunts, unimpressed. the chicken escapes. Standard procedure. Back home, the fire is strong. The hut smells like wet wool and boiled roots. Lunch is root vegetable stew with a single slice of bread for everyone. The bread is stale, but if you soak it just right, it pretends to be soft. You eat by the fire, steam rising from the bowl, your legs throb, your arms tremble, but your stomach is quiet. That's a win. Afternoon means wool carding. You sit on the floor pulling apart tufts of greasy sheep's wool with 2 wooden paddles covered in teeth. It's like brushing a very hairy, very disappointed ghost. The fibers tangle, your fingers cramp, but soon the wool is ready for spinning. Your mother smiles. That's the closest you'll get to applause. As night falls, you lay out your damp clothes by the fire. They sizzle, a little. You light another candle, one of your lumpy creations. It flickers heroically, casting soft light on your family's faces. You lay back on your straw mattress, still faintly reeking of manure, and smile. Because in the Middle Ages, there's a certain comfort in a day where nothing caught fire, no one bled, and the soup had flavor. You drift off to the sound of rain and snoring. You wake up to the sound of coughing. Not your own this time, your father's. Deep, wet, relentless. The kind of cough that starts in the lungs and ends in silence. You lie still for a moment, listening. 1, 2, 3 coughs. Then a pause. Then the familiar rattle of him trying to breathe like it's a skill he's slowly forgetting. The fire's almost out. Again. You get up, knees popping like bad drum beats, and poke at the ashes. Cold, not surprising. The firewood's nearly gone. What you've got left is wet, soft, and barely qualifies as combustible. You toss it on anyway. The flames stutter, spit, then catch. Sort of. Your sister stirs. Your mother is already up, wrapping your father in a wool blanket with more holes than warmth. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't have to. The look on her face says everything. You need to get moving, because today, of all days, is the worst. Tax collection. Every month, the Lord sends his steward, also known as the reeve, also known as that man who has never smiled once in his life, to collect what's owed. Grain, eggs, cheese, sometimes chickens, always dignity. Your family gathers what they can. 3 sacks of barley, 2 soft wheels of cheese, well, 1 soft, 1 green, 12 eggs, or rather 11 and a half, because 1 cracked this morning when your brother tripped over the cat. Still, it might pass. You carry the basket to the village square, navigating puddles that have ambitions of becoming lakes. The mud grabs at your boots. The sky hangs low, sullen and gray, like even the weather knows what day it is. Everyone's there, hunched, silent, waiting. The reeve arrives late, as always, riding a horse so clean it looks like it teleported here from a better place. He wears gloves. Leather. Imported, probably. He dismounts slowly with the smug air of someone who's never had to wash their own tunic. He doesn't speak at first, just walks down the line, hands behind his back, looking at each family like they're disappointing houseplants. Then he starts taking. Your neighbor hands over a sack of onions. He sniffs, accepts. Another brings smoked fish. The reeve sneers, waves it away. Too small. They protest. Bad idea. The steward's assistant, built like a barn door with a pinion, steps forward. That ends the conversation. Your turn. You kneel and present your goods like offerings to an annoyed forest spirit. He inspects the barley, opens the cheese, pokes at the eggs. 1 breaks. He raises an eyebrow. You don't blink. He grunts. Passable. You exhale. Then he points to your brother. That tunic. You blink. What? The tunic, he repeats as if speaking to a dog. It looks newer than last month's. It's not. It's just been patched better. You hesitate. He doesn't. Hand it over. Your brother strips it off without a word, teeth chattering in the cold. The reeve doesn't even look as it's tossed into the collection cart like laundry. The taxes are paid. But something inside you feels overdrafted. You walk home in silence. The hut is colder now. Not just from the fire. Your father's coughing hasn't stopped. Your mother wraps herbs in a cloth and heats them by the hearth. You offer to help. She shakes her head. Instead, you check your stores. The shelf is nearly bare. 2 small jars of grain, half a wheel of cheese, a bundle of dried herbs, and 1 very judgmental onion. It won't last long. Your sister suggests trading, but there's not much left to trade. That night, dinner is watery porridge and silence. You chew slowly, not because of manners, but because there's nothing to rush toward. Then, just as the candle burns low and the fire gives one last wheeze, your brother starts to sing. A folk song, soft, familiar, about a clever fox and a lazy farmer. Your sister joins in. Even your mother hums along, and for a brief moment, the tax, the hunger, the cold, the cough, it fades. You fall asleep curled against the wall, the last notes of the song still echoing in your ears. You dream of spring. You awaken before the sun. Again, it's not your alarm, it's your bladder. And the fact that the straw you sleep on has mysteriously gained a wet patch. Whether it's melted snow, roof drip, or a rat-related accident, you don't want to know. You groan, sit up, and instantly regret it. Your back screams, your shoulders click, your neck creaks like an old barn door. Every joint is a symphony of minor complaints, reminding you that peasant life doubles as full-time body sabotage. The fire is out, of course. You shuffle to the hearth, pick through last night's ashes, and coax a spark to life with the grace of a hungover squirrel. One spark, 2 twigs, a prayer. It catches. Barely. The warmth spreads, but your nose is still numb. Your father's cough starts again, worse than yesterday. Deep, rattling, echoing off the walls like a death rattle no one's brave enough to name. Your mother doesn't say anything. She just brews the same herb bundle again and wraps it in cloth, pressing it against his chest. You're sent out early today, because today's task is brutal, wet, and long overdue. Thatch gathering. The roof leaks, the firewood's damp, and your patience is on its last straw, literally. You sling a dull knife on your belt, grab a rope, a sack, and your cousin, the one who thinks mud counts as footwear, and head out toward the marshes. The road is half frozen, half swamp. It's a journey of slipping, squelching, and muttered curses. Fog hangs heavy around you, thick enough to chew. The trees loom like disapproving relatives. When you reach the reeds, the wind cuts right through you. You begin the harvest. Slice, pull, bundle, tie. The rhythm is simple. The pain is not. Your fingers go numb within minutes. Your feet disappear into the bog. A beetle the size of your thumb crawls up your sleeve. You flick it off without flinching. You're numb to surprise now. Your cousin tells a story about a traveling bard who once ate a mushroom and started talking to sheep. You laugh. Or maybe shiver. Hard to tell anymore. The reeds pile up, you tie them into bundles and start the long haul back. Each bundle is heavier than your optimism. Back home, the roof waits like an insult. You climb up, the ladder wobbling beneath you like it has performance anxiety. You balance precariously with a bundle of reeds on your shoulder and a face full of wind. You remove the rotted thatch, moldy black smelling of swamp and shame, and layer on the new. It's prickly, uneven, but it holds. And more importantly, it's dry. By the time you finish, your hands are raw and your legs feel like boiled turnips. You jump down, land, collapse onto the mud. The pig watches you without judgment. It's seen worse. Lunch is a bowl of thin vegetable stew and a crust of bread harder than some of the fences around here. You dunk it. You chew. You survive. Then, just as you think you might have a moment to sit, the pig escapes. Again, you chase it down the path, across the ditch, through a neighbor's carrot patch, RIP to those carrots, and finally wrestle it to the ground behind the barn. You carry it back under one arm like a very angry, squealing sack of pork. Your little brother claps. You do not. After that, it's back to work. The spinning wheel is yours this afternoon. You take the rough, greasy wool you carded yesterday and begin twisting it into yarn. Your hands move automatically. The spindle whirls, the fibers catch, the thread builds, the wheel squeaks. You hum. This, oddly, is peaceful. The fire crackles behind you. Your sister braids the finished yarn. Your mother rests for a moment. Even your father dozes, the cough finally quiet. Dinner is more stew, this time with salt, a rare treat. The whole family eats slowly, savoring it like nobles with gold-plated spoons. You light a candle, one of your own. It flickers, slightly lopsided, casting golden shadows across the room. It smells faintly of tallow and triumph. You sit by the fire, sewing a new patch onto your tunic. The thread is uneven, the stitch is crooked, but it'll hold. The pig snores, the wind howls, and for once, nothing leaks. You crawl into bed, sore, muddy, exhausted, and dry. That, you realize, is the closest thing to luxury you'll get this month. And honestly, it's not bad. The day starts with a smell. Not smoke, not wet wool, not even pig, which is honestly refreshing. No, today's scent is worse. Moldy grain. You sit up, sniff the air like a suspicious ferret, and follow the trail. Sure enough, one of the grain sacks in the corner has gone rogue. The top is crusted in something green and fuzzy, and the bottom is sagging in that telltale way that means it's probably started fermenting itself into peasant moonshine. Your mother is already scolding it like it's a family member that forgot to tithe. You dig into the sack, salvaging what you can. A handful of kernels here, a pinch there. It's a depressing archaeological dig through what should have been this week's food. By the time you finish, your fingers are dusted with mildew and your mood matches the weather, cold and sour. Your father tries to help, but the cough won't let him. It's a deep, dragging cough now, pulling something out of him that he can't afford to lose. He waves you off. You pretend it doesn't scare you. Breakfast is rushed, weak porridge with a sprinkle of salvaged grain. Your sister adds a sliver of carrot, and you all act like it's some revolutionary new recipe. Then it's out to the woods. Again, this time, not for thatch, but for firewood. You grab the axe, not sharp, not straight, just loyal. You sling it over your shoulder, wrap yourself in your heaviest cloak, still not heavy enough, and start walking. The woods in winter are quiet, too quiet. Every crack of a branch sounds like a threat. Every crow caw feels like it's laughing at you, but you ignore it because you've got a goal. Bring back enough wood to last the week. You find a fallen tree, old, damp, covered in moss. Perfect. You swing the axe, the first strike echoes, the second bounces. By the third, your hands are buzzing and your back is debating a rebellion, but you keep going. Chop, breathe, chop, curse. Eventually you split it into manageable chunks, load them into your sack, trudge back. Halfway home, it starts to snow. Of course, the path vanishes beneath your feet. The wind picks up, the wood digs into your shoulder like it's trying to crawl inside. But you press on. You make it back just before the blizzard kicks in for real. Your family rushes to help unload. The fire is stoked, the wood stacked, your boots peeled off your frozen feet. Inside, the hut is noisy, crowded, warm, sort of. The windows are fogged, the pig is snoring again, curled up near the hearth like it owns the place. You collapse onto the bench and inhale a bowl of stew so fast you don't taste it, but you feel it. The warmth spreads, you can almost feel your fingers again. Then comes the blanket mending, because surprise, one of the only wool blankets in the house has torn. You sit by the fire, needle in hand, patching it with scraps from an old tunic. It's not pretty, but it'll trap heat. Maybe. You hold it up for inspection. Your sister gives a thumbs up. That's basically an award. Outside, the storm rages. Wind howls, snow piles against the door. Inside, your mother hums softly while stirring a pot. Your brother carves a button out of bone. Your father sleeps finally, peacefully. And for the first time in days, you feel something weird. Stillness, not the scary kind, not the is something broken kind, the good kind, the kind that says you survived another day. The snow may howl, the wind may bite, but inside this little hut, there's soup and fire and people. You pull the blanket over your lap, lean your head against the wall and smile, not because everything's fine, but because for now, it's enough. The snow is still falling, not a gentle flurry, not the soft, poetic kind that makes poets sigh and children giggle. No, this is the aggressive kind, the kind that dumps so much white powder on your world that your front door creaks in protest every time you nudge it open. You peer outside and see nothing but a wall of white. The path to the well? Gone. The garden? Buried. The pig pen? Somewhere under that suspicious snow mound. Inside, it's quieter than usual. The kind of quiet that comes when everyone's trying not to think about food. Because the stores are low. Lower than low. That moldy grain from yesterday? Gone. The onions? Down to one. The tiny, shriveled one that smells like it knows it's living on borrowed time. The cheese? A faint memory. Your mother makes broth from water, herbs, and hope. You sip it slowly, trying not to chew the disappointment. Then a knock. That's not a metaphor, a literal knock. At your door, in a blizzard. You exchange looks with your brother. No one gets visitors in weather like this. Unless it's... You open the door and there stands old Hilda. She's half covered in snow, holding a woven basket and a look that says, "Don't argue." Without asking, she stomps inside, deposits the basket near the fire, and starts peeling off her cloak like she owns the place. Which, to be fair, she kind of does, socially, if not legally. Hilda's what people call a character. Older than moss. Smarter than most, talks to plants, screams at crows, never married, possibly cursed. She opens her basket and reveals food. Dried apples, salted fish, some kind of flatbread that smells edible. She lays it out like it's a royal feast. Your family stares. You nearly cry. "Storm's bad," she mutters. "Figured you'd need it." Your mother tries to thank her. Hilda waves it off like a mosquito. Instead, she settles by the fire, warming her hands, eyeing your father. "You're not feeding him right," she announces. Your mother bristles. Hilda pulls out a pouch of dried herbs and tosses some into the simmering pot. The smell changes instantly. Rich, sharp, medicinal. Your father coughs again. Hilda raises an eyebrow. "He'll live, probably." Dinner is better that night. The broth is stronger. The flatbread is real food. The salted fish tastes like a vacation in comparison to yesterday's porridge. Hilda tells stories as you eat. Legends of spirits in the woods, of men who turned into wolves, of kings who couldn't boil their own eggs. Your brother listens with wide eyes. Your sister laughs for the first time all week. Outside, the snow keeps falling. Inside, something else has settled. Not comfort. That's too much to ask, but community. After dinner, Hilda teaches you how to braid cords from old yarn. She says it helps keep your hands warm and your mind quiet. She's right. Your fingers work while your thoughts wander, slowly unwinding like the fibers you twist together. Before she leaves, she wraps a packet of herbs in cloth and presses it into your mother's hand. "For the cough," she says. Your mother nods, eyes misty. You walk Hilda back through the snow, shielding her with your cloak. She doesn't thank you, just mutters, "About time someone young did something useful." Back home, the fire burns bright. The air smells like spice and smoke. Your father sleeps easier. Your sister's humming. The pig is curled up near the hearth, belly round with stolen scraps. You crawl into bed, full for the first time in days, and smile. Sometimes it's not just food that feeds you. Sometimes it's the surprise kindness of a strange old woman and her suspiciously delicious flatbread. By morning, the snow has stopped, but the silence it leaves behind is even louder. The world outside your hut is now a frozen sculpture, all sharp white lines and glittering stillness. Trees sag under the weight of snow. The garden fence is just a faint hump beneath the drifts. The air is crisp, cold enough to bite, but finally dry enough not to cling to your lungs like wet wool. It should feel peaceful. But your father hasn't woken up. He's breathing. Barely. Each inhale rattles in his chest like a winded bellows. Your mother sits beside him, feeding him sips of the herbal mix Hilda left, muttering prayers under her breath. Your brother clutches the wooden spoon he whittled last week like it's a lucky charm. You can't do anything inside, so you go out. There's a path to dig. Armed with a shovel made from a broken spade and too much determination, you carve your way toward the well. Each scoop is a battle. The snow is thick, wet, and heavy. It clings to the blade, your boots, your soul. You make it halfway before collapsing onto a drift. The sky above is blue, too blue, like it's mocking you. You exhale. Steam curls from your mouth like frustration made visible. Eventually, you reach the well. The bucket's frozen to the rope. You kick it loose, draw water. The handle creaks, the rope frays. The water sloshes like liquid treasure. You carry it back like it's gold. Inside, your sister is tending the fire, and your mother is spooning warm broth into your father's mouth. He swallows, slowly, like every drop is an uphill climb. You refill the pot, wash your hands, shake the snow off your shoulders. Then it's time to check the animals. The pig, surprisingly, is thriving. Curled under a pile of straw like a smug sausage, it snorts a greeting and blinks sleepily. The goat, less relaxed, is pacing in its pen, bleating at the snow like it personally offended her. You feed them both, toss extra hay, break the ice in their trough, and head back in. Lunch is better today. Not because the food is special, just dried lentils and half a root, but because your father eats 2 spoonfuls without coughing. Your mother smiles, briefly, but it's there. You spend the afternoon weaving. You need new mats. The ones under your sleeping areas have grown stiff with frost and pig hair. You tear old sacks into strips and begin braiding. Your hands move without thinking. Over, under, pull, tighten, repeat. Your brother sits beside you, helping. He's still wearing the same tunic the Reeve didn't steal. The sleeves are too short. You promise yourself you'll fix that tomorrow. Outside, children from the village are building snow figures. Lumpy, off balance, and oddly terrifying. One has a bucket for a head, another has turnips for eyes. You laugh, just once. Then you spot Hilda again. She's trudging through the snow like she owns it. Which, again, she probably does. She doesn't stop at your hut this time, just waves once, then keeps walking, her basket swinging like it's got secrets. Evening settles in quietly. The fire burns steady. Your sister braids your hair with practiced fingers. Your mother hums again, same tune, softer this time. Your father stirs, mutters something incoherent, and falls back asleep, but he's warm and not coughing. Dinner is thin but warm. You eat slowly, savoring the salt Hilda gave you in a twist of cloth. Every grain feels like it should have a name. Before bed, you step outside. The stars are out, bright, sharp, and unbothered by human troubles. The snow glows in their light, untouched, peaceful, temporary. You breathe in, let the cold sting your lungs, then back inside. Blanket, fire, family. Your father sighs in his sleep. Your mother nods off. You lie awake for a while, watching the candle burn low. It flickers, it dances, and then it goes out. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you're in the dark. The sun breaks through the clouds the next morning like it's showing off. It spills into the hut through the slats in the wall, casting warm stripes across the floor and catching on the edges of your patched-up blanket. It's still cold, bone-deep cold, but the light changes everything. For a moment, you could almost believe spring is closer than it is. Almost. Your father stirs, his eyes open. He says your name. Not clearly, not loudly, but it's there, a raspy whisper. Your mother's face crumples like wet parchment. She kisses his forehead, then immediately begins fussing with his blanket, his herbs, the broth on the fire, because that's what she does when she doesn't know how to say thank you to the universe. You smile, and for once it doesn't feel like a lie. Breakfast is still modest, just flatbread and broth, but it tastes different now. Better, like victory in carbohydrate form. Then, as if sensing your good mood, life intervenes. A knock at the door. No one ever knocks twice in 1 week unless it's bad news or a wandering minstrel trying to sell poetry. You open the door and find the village elder standing there. She's bundled in a heavy cloak, her gray braid tucked beneath a hood, and her mouth drawn in that permanent "I've seen too much" line. She's holding a piece of parchment. "Meeting," she says. Your stomach drops. Village meetings are never about parties. You follow her into the square. Everyone is there, faces pale from winter, eyes sunken, bodies wrapped in everything from wool to repurposed sacks. Even Hilda's there, chewing on something that might be bark and muttering to a chicken she apparently brought as a +1. The elder reads the message. Taxes are increasing, not a little, a lot. The Lord has decided the village must provide an extra tithe, grain, cloth, and labor, because of unforeseen estate costs. Translation, he wants new tapestries and someone else to pay for them. There's silence, then muttering, then anger. But nothing will change. The Lord owns the land owns you, and the chain ends with your back. The elder finishes reading, folds the parchment like it might bite her. Meeting adjourned. You walk home with your hands clenched so tight they ache. Your mother hears the news and closes her eyes like someone just cursed. You start calculating how much grain you have, how much cloth you can spare, how much sleep you can lose without dropping. Then you make a decision. You're going to the mill. It's 2 villages away, but the miller there trades flour for labor. If you can get a few sacks ground early, you might meet the new quota and still have enough left to eat. You pack up what grain you can carry, plus a small pouch of herbs, just in case, and set off. The road is icy. Your breath comes in clouds. The snow crunches underfoot like bones. But you keep moving. At the halfway mark, your boot splits. You curse, stuff straw inside, and limp the rest of the way. The mill is noisy, churning, alive. The miller, a wiry man with more beard than neck, agrees to trade. You carry sacks, haul water, shovel grain. Your arms burn, your shoulders scream, but the flour is worth it. By dusk, you have 2 heavy sacks and a promise for more next week. You head home, feet blistered, back soaked. At the edge of the village, Hilda is waiting. She doesn't say anything, just takes one of your sacks without asking and carries it alongside you. You don't thank her. She doesn't expect it. At the door, she dumps the sack, nods at your mother, and walks off without a word. That night, you sit by the fire. Your father eats 3 spoonfuls. Your brother sleeps with his arms wrapped around the flour sack like it's a pillow of dreams. Your mother hums. And you? You sit with your boots off, your feet steaming, and your soul humming. Not because things got easier, but because you got through another day. And tomorrow, you'll do it again. Morning brings a different kind of quiet. Not the heavy, tense quiet of sickness or storms, but a gentle hush, like the world is holding its breath. The snow has begun to melt, slowly, reluctantly. The roof still drips, but now it's the steady patter of surrender, not collapse. You stretch, ache, and immediately step in a wet patch. Of course, you mop it with your sleeve. No one flinches. Wet floors are practically tradition now. Today, you're doing something strange, something rare, something almost exciting. You're making soap. Yes, real soap. Not just scraping yourself with sand and regret. The good stuff. Well, relatively good. You gather the ingredients, ashes from the hearth, white and fine from all the hardwoods you've burned, leftover animal fat stored in a clay jar and smelling like angry bacon, a wooden bucket, a stirring stick, and the kind of patience usually reserved for saints. You mix the ashes with water, creating lye, a substance so alkaline it could dissolve your dignity if handled wrong. Then you heat the fat slowly, stirring until it melts into a thick, sludgy potion. Then you combine them. The reaction is immediate and vengeful. Bubbles, fizzing. A smell that could strip paint. You keep stirring. Hours pass, it thickens. Eventually, it's poured into a mold, a wooden box lined with cloth, and left near the fire to set. It'll need days to harden, but the hard part's done. You look at your hands. Greasy, smelly, slightly tingly. Success. Lunch is late today. Turnip stew again, but there's a sprinkle of dried herbs from Hilda's last visit, and it elevates it from warm mud to passable sustenance. After eating, you head outside with your sister. It's time to mend the fence. Not the garden one. This time, it's the one by the path, the one that separates village from goat opportunity zone. One post is rotten, another has been bent sideways, possibly by a very determined cow. You haul replacement posts from the shed. The ground is thawing just enough to let you dig. Barely. You dig. You set. You hammer. Your sister holds the stakes steady, grinning like she's imagining a goat rebellion. You both laugh when the hammer slips and smacks your thumb. It hurts, but you laugh anyway. Back home, your mother's weaving again. Not for trade. This is personal. A new scarf for your father. The yarn is uneven. The color is somewhere between muddy brown and pitty gray, but it's warm. And that's what matters. Your father watches her with glassy eyes. He still can't speak much, but he reaches out and squeezes her hand. You pretend not to see it. Later, the village bell rings. You freeze. Not a fire, not a raid. It's a wedding. You'd forgotten. Two villagers, barely older than you, are tying the knot today. No feast, no music, just a quick ceremony and a promise beneath the old oak tree. You join the small crowd, watching as they exchange tokens made of carved wood and braided grass. Their hands tremble, but their smiles don't. It's quick, quiet, sincere. Afterwards, someone produces a crust of bread, someone else a jar of honey, and suddenly, it's a feast. By peasant standards, anyway. You get a piece of the crust, barely more than a crumb, but it's sweet, and that alone feels like decadence. You sit on a log with your back to the tree, watching as your brother tries to dance and trips over a root. Your sister cackles. Hilda mutters something about young love and then steals the last of the honey. Evening falls. You walk home beneath a sky of violet and silver, stars beginning to blink into place. At the hut, your candle is waiting. You light it. The room glows. Your family settles in. No feast, no music, just fire. Soap cooling by the hearth, a repaired fence, a scarf half woven, and the quiet knowledge that sometimes peace sneaks in the back door while you're busy fixing everything else. You smile. Tomorrow the soap will set. Tomorrow the sun might stay. Tomorrow you'll rise again. But tonight you sleep warm, clean-smelling, sort of, and with a belly full of wedding crust. You wake up to an unexpected gift. Sunlight. It pours through the gaps in the wall, golden and warm, like a blessing the heavens forgot to deliver last season. The snow is melting for real now. Rivulets run down the side of the hut, pooling into muddy little lakes around the door. Birds are singing. Birds. Singing. You haven't heard a song that wasn't from your sister's goat impressions in weeks. You step outside and squint like a mole emerging from a tunnel. Everything looks brighter. Not clean, exactly, but less like a disaster painting. You take a deep breath, you cough, still winter, still phlegm, but somehow less hopeless. Your father is sitting up by the fire, propped on a mound of every blanket you own. He waves weakly. You wave back, grinning so hard it hurts. The snow's retreat has revealed something ugly, though. The garden, or what's left of it. A mangled patch of frozen roots, broken stakes, and what appears to be a squirrel's party aftermath. The fence is sagging. The compost heap looks like it grew teeth. and last year's bean trellis is now a sculpture of agricultural sadness. Your job today, make it ready again. You begin by clearing debris. You pull out dead plants like you're exorcising last season's ghosts. Twisted vines, rotted stalks, the skeletal remains of a once proud cabbage, gone. You dig into the compost, stirring what might be future soil but smells like betrayal and cabbage farts. Your brother helps by poking the mud with a stick and declaring war on earthworms. Very helpful. The sun stays. By midday, your tunic is damp with sweat and your boots are caked in a kind of mud that sticks to your soul. But the garden is bare. Ready. You scatter ash across the soil, Hilda's advice. Feeds the dirt, she'd said before immediately shooing away a chicken who got too curious. Back inside, your mother is laying out seed packets. Well, pouches, really. Small bundles of cloth tied with twine, labeled with scribbled symbols only she seems to understand. You take inventory. Turnips, onions, peas, a few lentils that might grow, a single carrot seed like a sad joke. It's not much, but it's a start. The rest of the afternoon is spent repairing tools. You sharpen the spade with a flat rock, sand splinters off your palms, you tighten the rake's teeth with twine. Your sister replaces the handle of the hoe with a branch that still smells like pine. Everything looks slightly crooked, but sturdy, like your family. Dinner is boiled peas and barley, bland, familiar, comforting in a we're still alive kind of way. Afterward, your mother pulls out the family tally cloth. It's not a ledger, just a piece of linen marked with lines and knots that track seasons, storms, harvests. She runs her fingers over it slowly. You see her lips move. Prayers, plans, memories. Then she adds a new knot. Spring begins, she murmurs. You all nod, even your father. That night, you sit outside for a moment, wrapped in your repaired cloak, watching the stars reappear. No snow, no storm, just soft mud beneath your feet and a sky that's starting to forgive you. You head back in, curl up in your straw bed, and close your eyes. The soil is waiting. So are you. The next morning, you wake up to the sound of buzzing. Not the inside your head, I've had too much barley broth kind of buzzing. Real buzzing. From real bees. You sit up so fast your blanket whacks your sister in the face. She groans. You apologize, sort of. You rush outside barefoot, feet sinking into the still cold mud, and follow the sound. The beehive survived. Not only survived, thrived. The little woven skep tucked beside the pig pen is vibrating with life. Bees zip in and out like tiny, furious accountants. You approach slowly, offering the traditional peasant greeting of, "Please don't sting me, I am but a humble mud goblin." They ignore you. Perfect. You leave a bowl of warm water near the hive, Hilda's advice again, and whisper a thank you. For honey. For pollination, for being alive when so many things weren't. Back inside, your mother is stirring a pot of porridge so thick it might qualify as a building material. Your father is upright again, wrapped in a blanket, even trying to mend a broken stool with shaking hands. Progress. After breakfast, you return to the garden. Time to plant. The earth is still damp, but workable. Your fingers sink into it with a squelch that's half discomfort, half joy. You dig neat rows. Your sister follows behind, dropping seeds with all the solemnity of a priest at a funeral. Each seed is a gamble. Peas might sprout. Onions might rot. The lentils could revolt and demand better working conditions. But still, you plant. Because hope in this century comes in tiny, wrinkled packages wrapped in dirt. By midday, the sun is high. Your arms ache. Your neck is sunburned in the exact shape of your tunic collar. Your brother shows up with a ladle of water and tells you it's magic growing juice. It's just well water. But you drink it like a miracle anyway. After planting, you inspect the hut itself. The thaw has not been kind. One wall is bowing, the roof still leaks near the chimney, and the front step collapsed into something that now houses a suspiciously territorial frog. You gather what you can, sticks, stones, a few leftover reeds from the thatching. You prop up the weak wall with a branch thicker than your leg. You smear fresh mud into the gaps, praying it dries before the next rain. You stomp the frog out of the entryway. He hops into a bucket and sulks. The rest of the afternoon is spent weaving a new basket. You need one for gathering eggs, assuming the chickens ever forgive you for winter and resume laying. The last basket fell apart dramatically last week, mid-carry, launching eggs into the mud like nature's cruel joke. This new one is tight, firm, slightly lopsided, but proud. You hold it up. Your sister claps. Your brother offers to test it with a potato. You decline. As evening falls, the scent of wood smoke blends with something sweeter, honey. Not a lot. Just a few spoonfuls Hilda gifted you from her own hive last season, hidden away for a moment like this. Your mother adds it to tonight's barley. It transforms dinner into something divine. You eat slowly, reverently. Every grain tastes golden. Your brother licks his bowl. Your father chuckles for the first time in weeks. Afterward, you bring the basket to the hearth and place it carefully near the fire to dry. You curl up beside it, arms wrapped around your knees. Outside, frogs begin to croak in the marsh. Inside, your mother hums again, this time a planting song. Your sister joins. Even your brother gets the rhythm right. You close your eyes. The garden is planted. The hive is buzzing. The hut is still standing. You might just make it. Spring doesn't arrive in one grand parade. It sneaks in, shy and slow. A sprig of green here, a bud there. A shift in the wind that suddenly doesn't bite your ears off. And mud. So much mud. Your boots haven't been dry in 3 days, and you're starting to forget what your toes look like. But today, something new. You wake to birdsong and the faint scent of smoke, but not yours. A traveling merchant is in town. You can hear it before you see it. The creak of wheels, the clang of pots, the unmistakable voice of someone trying to sell old buttons as antique royal fasteners. You grab your cloak, still slightly damp from yesterday's weather tantrum, and head into the village square. The cart is glorious in the way only a ramshackle mobile miracle shop can be. Pots, pans, ribbons, and what might be a live duck hang from its sides. The merchant, round, loud, and boasting a beard so wide it needs its own introduction, waves grandly. Wonders for sale. You edge closer. There's cloth, real cloth, not homespun, dyed a blue so rich it could finance a coup. There's soap, sweet-smelling and suspiciously smooth. There's salt. Your eyes lock on the salt. You haven't seen more than a pinch since last year. You'd trade your left boot for it, maybe half your right one too. But you don't have boots to spare, so instead you offer labor. The merchant eyes you, shrugs, and puts you to work, scrubbing wheels, rearranging jars, and holding a goat that may or may not be part of his bartering system. Hours pass, your arms ache, your back protests. But by sunset, you walk away with a small pouch of salt, a scrap of blue cloth for your mother, and a piece of candied ginger that makes your eyes water and your soul sing. You head home beaming. Your sister squeals at the cloth. Your mother tears up at the salt. Your brother tries to eat the ginger and promptly regrets everything. Dinner that night is wild greens, flatbread, and a sprinkle of salt. It tastes like royalty. Afterward, your mother carefully tucks the cloth into her sewing basket. For something special, she says. You lie back by the fire, the day's ache softened by food, family, and the faint sweetness still on your tongue. But before you drift off, there's one more surprise. Your sister grabs your hand and pulls you outside. There, near the garden, barely visible in the moonlight, sprouts. Tiny. Fragile. But there. The seeds lived. You stare for a moment, speechless. Your sister grins. Told you I planted them right. You don't argue. You both kneel there in the dirt, muddy knees and hopeful hearts, watching those first green promises stretch toward the stars. Inside, your mother sings softly, your brother snores like a bear, the pig farts heroically. And you? You smile, because spring isn't just coming, it's here. You wake to the sound of water, not rain, not a leak, not even the sad gurgle of your brother trying to whistle in his sleep. No, this is flowing water. Moving. Running. You scramble out of bed, trip over the pig, who grunts in betrayal, and fling open the door. There it is. The creek, frozen for months, is finally moving again, slipping between its muddy banks, gurgling like it's laughing at you for doubting it would ever return. It's official. The thaw is complete. And that means one thing. Laundry day. Now, don't get excited. This isn't your modern, lavender-scented, let's light a candle and fold things neatly kind of laundry. This is peasant tear purification. A full-day ritual involving icy water, bruised knuckles, and enough scrubbing to qualify as medieval exfoliation. You gather the family linens, which have reached that special kind of filth that gives them texture. The clothes smell like a blend of smoke, pig, and possibly emotional damage. It's time. Your sister joins you, dragging a wooden tub and a handful of soap scraps, the ones you made last week, now hardened into pale bricks of questionable fragrance. At the creek, you kneel in the mud, sleeves rolled up, knuckles bared for battle. The water is glacial. It bites your fingers like it's personally offended you woke it up. You dunk the first tunic in and begin scrubbing. It groans. You groan back. The work is rhythmic. Soak, scrub, slam, ring, repeat. Your sister hums to keep time. Birds chime in. Somewhere in the woods, a fox yells back. You don't ask why. By midday, you've washed everything from shirts to the giant family blanket that doubles as insulation, cloak, and sometimes impromptu privacy screen. It now weighs approximately as much as guilt. You hang it on the bushes, on fence posts, on the pig if she'll sit still long enough. The wind does the rest. You pause to stretch. Your shoulders feel like sacks of potatoes. Your arms are trembling. Your fingernails are a whole new color of red. But your soul, oddly clean. Back home, the hut smells fresh. Not because of anything inside, but because everything damp and funky is outside. Your father's sitting up again, carving something. A spoon, maybe, or a very judgmental-looking duck. He nods at you, and you pretend not to beam. Lunch is a celebration. A boiled egg from one of the chickens that freshly laid and miraculously uncracked. You slice it 5 ways. Yes, 5. One for each family member and one for luck, which your brother eats before anyone can blink. There's also the last of the wild garlic you foraged. Your mother stirs it into the lentil stew, and for a moment the entire hut smells like ambition. After lunch, it's time to tackle the roof. Again, because now that the snow is gone, the damage is obvious. There's a hole the size of a chicken where the thatch collapsed. You climb up, tools in hand, and start replacing it, careful not to step on any loose boards or the pig who has taken to sunbathing in increasingly dramatic positions. Your sister passes you reeds. Your brother offers helpful advice from below, mostly involving suggestions like try not to fall and don't drop anything on my head. You don't, mostly. Once patched, the roof no longer looks like it's trying to eat itself. Progress. You spend the afternoon weaving netting for the garden. Birds are coming. You can hear them in the trees, chirping, plotting, waiting for those tender sprouts you worked so hard to coax into existence. The netting is scratchy, crooked, and made from salvaged bits of old fishing line and twine, but it'll do. Dinner is quiet but content. Everyone smells faintly of soap and garlic. Your mother's hands are red from scrubbing, your sister's arms sore from hauling wet clothes. Your brother is still talking about that single egg like he laid it himself. You light the second to last candle. The pig snores. Your father hums a lullaby he hasn't sung in years. You all sit together, not talking much, just being. Outside, the night settles in soft and calm. The stars wink overhead. The creek babbles. Somewhere, an owl hoots once, low, distant, like a punctuation mark. You crawl into bed, hair still damp, feet finally warm, and close your eyes. The laundry's done, the roof is patched, the garden is protected. Tomorrow will bring more problems. It always does. But tonight is quiet. And sometimes, quiet is all the magic you need. The morning arrives, not with a bang, but a bird. A very loud bird. Specifically, the rooster your family doesn't technically own. He just visits, struts in like he pays taxes, crows as if auditioning for an opera, then disappears to bother someone else. Today, he's perched on the fence post, neck extended, screaming his feathery heart out into the dawn. You throw a stick, you miss. He crows again. So begins your final day of this long, frost-bitten, mud-caked, occasionally soap-scented season. The thaw is complete. Not a trace of snow remains. The creek now sings in full voice, and the garden, oh, the garden. You peer at it with the wide-eyed hope of someone awaiting exam results. And there it is. Green. Everywhere. Tiny sprouts, peas, turnips, even the stubborn onions have broken through the dirt, their little leaves reaching up like they're trying to grab sunlight by the fistful. Your sister squeals. Your brother stares like it's a miracle. Your mother just nods. Calm. Quiet. Triumphant. Your father, now stronger, sits on the step and watches you all. He doesn't say much. He still doesn't have the breath for it, but his eyes shine. The good kind of shine. You don't have time to soak in it long, though, because the new season means new chores. Step 1. Redig the latrine pit. Yes, the glamour never ends. The old pit is full. And no, you don't want to talk about how you know that. So you grab the spade, march to the backfield, and begin what might be the single least poetic job in all of human civilization. You dig. The earth is soft, but the smell is not. You gag, you swear, you dig anyway. Halfway through, Hilda appears. Of course she does. She watches you for a moment, then mutters something about, at least you'll appreciate stew more after this. You finish the pit, cover the old one, say a prayer, burn some herbs just in case, then go wash your hands in the creek. Twice. Back home, there's a new project waiting. Your mother wants to build a root cellar, not fancy, just a pit lined with stones and straw to keep things cool in summer. You start hauling rocks. Your brother helps by collecting shiny ones. Your sister assigns herself as structural supervisor, which mostly involves yelling suggestions and stepping in mud. Together, you carve out a small space beside the hut. By mid-afternoon, your muscles are weeping. Your tunic is glued to your back with sweat. But the pit is lined, the roof is framed. You've done it. The first family cellar. You place a single jar of pickled beets inside like it's a crown jewel. Everyone applauds, even the pig snorts approval. As the sun begins to lower, casting long shadows across the yard, you realize something strange. You're done. Not with everything. Never with everything. But for today, for this season, for this long, brutal, beautiful chapter, you've made it to the end. You've survived the winter. You sit with your family by the fire that night. The last candle flickers. Your mother hands out cups of nettle tea, weak but warm. Your father smiles and the lines on his face soften. Your sister leans against your shoulder. Your brother's already dozing. The garden sleeps, the hut holds, the creek flows, and in the distance, that rooster crows one final time before roosting. You close your eyes, and you rest, not because you're done, but because you've earned it. And now, the fire has burned low. Its embers flicker in lazy loops, casting a soft golden hush across the wooden beams and worn floor. Outside, the wind moves through the trees not like a storm, but like a sigh, gentle, rhythmic, almost thoughtful. The pig has stopped snoring. The rooster has finally settled. Even the creek seems to have lowered its voice. Your family is asleep. Blankets drawn up, cheeks flushed from warmth, bodies curled in familiar shapes. The kind of silence that fills a home after hardship. Not empty, but whole. You're still there, nestled in your corner, watching the last shadows dance across the walls. The ache in your muscles has faded into a quiet hum. The dirt under your nails, the patches on your tunic, the dried mud on your boots, they're all reminders of what you've lived through and what you've grown through. It wasn't easy. None of it ever is, but you endured. The seasons turned, and so did you. That garden out there, it's not just sprouts, it's proof that something small and tired can survive frost, find the sun, and bloom again. So breathe deeply now, let the rhythm of sleep find you. You're safe here. The fire's watched over you, the night is kind, and morning, when it comes, will greet you softly. The stars are steady, the world is quiet, and you've earned your rest. End of script. Sleep well.